Welcome to this model. You are watching VLSI Design Lecture Series. Today we will focus on low voltage static latches. The scaling of supply voltages is critical for low power operation, and unfortunately certain latch structures do not function at reduced supply voltages. For example, without the scaling of device thresholds, NMOS only pass transistors don't scale well with supply voltage and due to its inherent threshold voltage drop. So at very low power supply voltages, the input to the inverter cannot be raised above the switching threshold, resulting in incorrect evaluation. Even with the use of the transmission gate, performance degrades significantly at reduced supply voltage. Scaling to low supply voltages thus requires the use of reduced threshold devices. However, this has the negative effect of exponentially increasing the subthreshold leakage power. When the resistors are constantly accessed, the leakage energy typically insignificant compared to the switching power. However, with the use of conditional clocks, it is possible that resistors are idle for extended periods. And the leakage energy expended by the resistor can be quite significant. Many solutions are being explored to address the problem of high leakage during the idle periods. One approach is to use the multiple threshold devices. So only the negative latches shown in this diagram. The shaded inverters and the transmission gates are implemented in the low threshold devices. The low threshold inverters are gated by using high threshold devices to eliminate leakage. During the normal mode of operation, the sleep devices are turned on. When the clock is low, the D-input is sampled and propagates to the output, and the latch is in the hold mode when the clock is high. The feedback transmission gate conducts and the cross-coupled feedback is enabled. An extra inverter in parallel with the low threshold one is added to the state and to store the state when the latch is in idle mode. Then the high threshold devices in series with the low threshold inverter are turned off, eliminating leakage. It is assumed that the clock is held high when the latch is in the sleep mode. And the feedback low threshold transmission gate is turned on, and the cross-coupled high threshold devices maintain the state of the latch. Now let us focus on dynamic latches and registers. Storage in a static sequential circuit relies on the concept that a cross-coupled inverter pair produces a bistable element and can thus be used to memorize the binary values. So this approach has a useful property that a stored value remains valid as long as the supply voltage is applied to the circuit, and hence the name static. The major disadvantage of the static gate, however, is its complexity. When registers are used in the computational structures that are constantly clocked, the requirement that the memory should hold the state and for extended periods of time can be significantly relaxed. So this results in a class circuits based on the temporary storage of charge and parasitic capacitors. The principle is exactly the one identical to the one used in dynamic logic. That is, charge stored on a capacitor can be used to represent a logic signal. The absence of charge denotes 0 while its presence stands for a stored 1. No capacitor is idle. Unfortunately, some charge leakage is always present. A stored value can thus only be kept for a small amount of time, typically in the range of milliseconds. So if one wants to preserve the signal integrity, a periodic refresh of the value is necessary here, and hence the name dynamic storage. Reading the value of the stored signal from a capacitor without disrupting the charge requires the availability of a device with a high input impedance. So, fully dynamic positive edge triggered register based on the master slave concept shown in this figure. When clock is 0, the input data D is sampled on storage node 1, which has an equivalent capacitance of C1 consisting of gate capacitance of I1 and the junction capacitance of T1 and the overlap capacitance of T1. Okay. During this period, the slave stage is in a hold mode with the node 2 in high performance or high impedance state. On the rising edge of the clock, the transmission gate T2 turns on and the value sampled on node 1 right before the rising edge propagates to the output Q. Note that the node 1 is stable during the high phase of the clock since the first transmission gate is turned off. Now node 2 now stores the inverted version of the node 1. This implementation of the edge triggered register is very efficient because it requires only 8 transistors. The sampling switches can be implemented using NMOS only pass transistors, resulting in an even simplest 6 transistor implementation. The reduced transistor count is attractive for high performance and low power systems. The setup time of the circuit is simply the delay of the transmission gate and it corresponds to the time it takes node 1 to sample the D input. The whole time is approximately 0 since the transmission gate is turned off on the clock edge and further input changes are ignored. The propagation delay is equal to the 2 inverter delays plus the delay of the transmission gate T2. And one important consideration for such a dynamic register is that the storage nodes have to be refreshed at periodic intervals to prevent losses due to charge leakage, diode leakage, or subthreshold currents. In data path circuits, the refresh rate is not an issue since the registers are periodically clocked and the storage nodes are constantly updated. And clock overlap is one of the important concern for this dynamic register that you can see in the diagram. So during the 0-0 overlap period, the NMOS of T1 and the PMOS of T2 are simultaneously on, creating a direct path for data to flow from the D input of the register to the Q output. In other words, a race condition occurs. The output Q can change the falling edge of if the overlap period is large. Obviously, an undesirable effect for a positive edge triggered register, and the same is true for 1-to-1 overlap region where an input output path exists through the PMOS of T1 and NMOS of T2. The later case is taken care by enforcing a whole time constraint. That is, the data must be stable during the high overlap period, and the former situation, that is 0-0 overlap, can be addressed by making sure that there is enough delay between the D input and node B, ensuring the new data sampled by the master edge doesn't propagate through the slave stage. Generally, the built-in single inverter delay should be sufficient, and the overlap constraint is given by T overlap 0, 0 is TT1 plus TT1 plus TT2. And a new approach called as C-squared mass approach, that is clocked CMOS circuit, is used which is used in 2 phases. And this is an ingenious positive edge trigger register that is based on the master-slave concept, insensitive to clock overlap. So this diagram shows the C-squared master-slave positive edge triggered register. Here, if the clock is 0, the first tri-state inverter is turned on and the master stage acts as an inverter, sampling the inverted version of the D on the internal node X. The master stage is in evaluation mode now. Meanwhile, the slave section is in high impedance mode or in hold mode. Both transistors M1 and M7 and M8 are off, decoupling the output from the input. The output Q retains its previous value stored on the output capacitor C12. The roles are reversed when clock is equal to 1. The master stage section in hold mode, that is M3 and M4, are off, while the second section evaluates, which is M7 and M8, are on. The value stored on CL1 propagates to the output node through the slave stage, which acts as an inverter. The overall circuit operates as a positive edge triggered register, master slave register, very similar to the transmission gate based register presented here. So, however, there is an important difference because to C-squared mass register with the clock bar clocking is insensitive to overlap as long as the rise and fall times of the clock edges are sufficiently small. To prove this statement, we can examine both the 0-0 and 1-1 overlap cases. Let us see this diagram. In the 0-0 overlap case, the circuit simplifies to the network. in which both PMOS devices are on during this period. So, to operate correctly, none of the new data sampled during the overlap window should propagate to the output queue, since data should not change on the negative edge of the positive edge triggered register. Indeed, new data is now sampled on node X through the series PMOS devices M2 M4, and node X can make 0 to 1 transition during the overlap period. However, this data cannot propagate to the output since the NMOS device M7 is turned off. At the end of the overlap period, clock bar is equal to 1 and both M7 and M8 are turned off, putting the slave stage in the hold mode. Therefore, any new data sampled on the falling clock edge is not seen at the slave output queue, since the slave state is off till the next rising edge of the clock. As a circuit consists of cascade of inverters, signal propagation requires one pull up followed by pull down or vice versa, which is not feasible in the situation. A one-to-one overlap case where both NMOS devices M3 and M7 are turned on is somewhat more contentious, and thus the question is again, if new data sampled during the overlap period propagates to the Q output, and a positive edge triggered register may only pass data that is presented at the input before the rising edge. If the D input changes during the overlap period, node X can make 1 to 0 transition but cannot propagate further. However, as soon as the overlap period is over, the PMOS M8 turns on and the 0 propagates to output, which is not desirable here. So, the problem is fixed by imposing a hold time constraint on the input data D, or in other words, the data D should be stable during the overlap period. In sum, it can be stated that the C-squared MOS latch is insensitive to clock overlaps because those overlaps activate either pull-up or pull-down networks of the latches, but never both of them simultaneously. If the rise and fall times of the clock are sufficiently low, however, there exists a time slot where both NMOS and PMOS transistors are conducting. This creates a path between the input and output that can destroy the state of the circuit. So, simulations have shown that the circuit operates correctly as long as the clock rise time is smaller than approximately 5 times the propagation delay of the register. So, this criterion is not too stringent and it is easily met with the practical designs. The impact of rise and fall times, which plots the simulated transient response of C-squared MOS D flip-flop and clock responses respectively at 0.1 and 3 nanoseconds. For slow clocks, the potential for a race condition exists. Thank you.